what I thought, what I wanted to do was when I was thinking about our last session, and there were a lot of questions around who is it who's understanding and who's understanding Vedanta, what's the role of the mind and all that. And it struck me that maybe it's a good idea to go back a little bit to some of the basics just to make sure that we are all on the same page about this, because it's a very important aspect of Advait Vedanta. So the question, if I was to recollect correctly, was who is it that's actually following the teaching? Who is it? The mind that's understanding the teaching? Is it the mind who's getting the teaching? Is it the mind that knows? This is just another way of asking a question or thinking about the knower. Who is the knower? Who is the knower? Who is the perceiver? Who is the doer? Who is the thinker? Right? Because we always think that there is an individual body, that's me, who's the agent of action or agent of experience. And that is correct. There has to be an agent of action and agent of experience, and we think it's us. We don't know exactly what, whether it's our body or the mind or the Atma or whatever, but it's us. Some form of me who's the perceiver. And even if I'm learning Vedanta, the Vedanta is being understood by somebody. कोई तो है जो उसको समझ रहा है, जिसको समझ आ रही है. So that is also me. And then Vedanta is saying that you don't exist. So it can be very confusing. So uske liye, I thought let's start from a little bit of take a step back and start from the fundamental. So what is it that Vedanta is saying? Vedanta is saying that my essence is consciousness. And that consciousness is Advait, Avyaya, that means it doesn't change. There's only one of it, Advait. It's non-dual, not just one of it, it's non-dual. And it is Sat, Chit, Ananda and all that. And it's Purna, that means it is complete in itself. So I think what the first thing that I want us all to understand is that such a consciousness, something which is unchanging, complete, all that, can never have an experience. And I want us to make sure we completely get this. Experience is not possible by anything which is changeless, which is non-dual, etc. Do you guys follow that completely?
No.
What is experience? Experience means that there is a change in me. That's experience. If there is no change in me, I cannot experience anything. Can there be an experience without a change? Like I'm in this state, I have to experience a different state. Even if I have to experience this state, I have to, there is some sensation, something, some change which has to occur for that experience to occur.
So would that be like deep sleep?
No, don't go there. I'm saying, do you just follow this? What does experience actually mean? Because this is Vedanta. Vedanta is all about experience. Experience means a change in myself. If there is no change in myself, I will not experience anything. Let's say I experience this I'm seeing. Experience can be a perception, it can be a thought, it can be a feeling. Let's take an example of a perception. That means I'm seeing this cup. How am I seeing this cup? Because in me, let's say my retina, this cup, the light from this cup did not exist. Suddenly, this light from the cup came into existence. I saw the cup. In fact, actually, it is medically proven that if there is no change at all, let's say you have a scenery in front of you, and there is no change at all, you'll stop seeing it. Our body can only see change. If there is no change, there is no perception, there is no experience. So this is a very important concept to understand. Because otherwise we'll keep confusing. We'll say my self is experiencing itself. Swatta Siddha, or something like that. Not possible. Your self cannot experience itself unless that self has some change. And the self that we are talking about, which is this Brahman, has no change. It cannot change. It is non-dual. What will it experience? What is it that it will experience that it doesn't have already? What does experience mean for something like that? Something which has no time, no space, nothing. What is experience? For experience to occur, there has to be duality. There has to be a knower and there has to be a known. There has to be a seer and there has to be a seen. That is experience. In Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, there's a very nice example for this. They give you an example of a beam of light. If there's a beam of light, consciousness is like a beam of light. If there's a beam of light, and let's say there's nothing else, it's in a vacuum, and you're there and the beam of light you're seeing, you're going, you will never be able to see the beam of light. It is invisible. If there's a completely dark room and you flash a beam of light and there is no object there, you will not know whether there's a beam of light there or not, whether light is there or not. For light to be seen, it has to hit an object. So कभी कभी होता है ना, देखने के लिए लाइट फ्लैश लाइट जल रही है कि नहीं, तो अपना हाथ आगे कर देते हो. Can I see my hand lit up? If you see your hand lit up, you भी वो flashlight on है. If the hand is not lit up, if the hand is not there and you switched on the flashlight और आगे को जा रहा है, तो उनको पता ही नहीं चलेगा flashlight on है कि नहीं है. Same thing with consciousness. If there is no object, there is no experience of consciousness. There is no experience at all. For any experience, you need duality. You need dvait. So I had a feeling that we may not have thought about this in that much detail, and that's why I wanted to introduce this to you. So the first thing is to understand this. If you have any question on this right now, before moving forward, let's just talk about that.
Well, this seems to be a very fundamentally different thing than, for instance, what Carol says. And, when you said Swatta Siddha, like this is one of the points that I remember that she always used to say, that the self is its own experience. And you seem to be saying something completely opposite.
Well, these are words. So self is its own experience and all that. These are words. But I'm saying let's just try to understand. Just because somebody says self is its own experience, you got to understand what it actually means. I'm saying forget about what people are saying, what Vedanta is saying. Forget everything. I'm just asking you to logically understand something, which is that experience means a change in yourself. Some change has to happen for experience to happen. Otherwise, you wouldn't know whether you're experiencing anything or not. Like, how do you know anything to experience anything? This is just this is not. ये कोई वेदांत नहीं कह रहा है, मतलब वेदांत भी कह रहा है. Vedant is not saying this. It's also saying this. But this is if you're saying that something is non-dual, something is changeless, this is a corollary from something being changeless and non-dual.
Hey, Dheeraj, I have a question.
Yeah.
How do you correlate this thinking to Brahman being the witness conscious?
See, what happens there is, there is a methodology of teaching. It's called Adhyaropa Upavada, which is what Vedant follows. So what it does is, it starts by, it knows where you are. You're caught in the middle of duality. You and I, everybody. And we are thinking that we are this body. So it takes you step by step. First, it says you're not the body, you're the mind. Then it says you're not even the mind, you're the witness who's witnessing the mind, right? That witness is what you are, you're Brahman. So then it goes there. But then finally it tells you that you can't even be the witness. Because if you're saying that you're the witness who's witnessing your feelings, that means their feelings exist separate from you, which you're witnessing. That is not what Brahman is. Nothing is separate from Brahman. There is no form in Brahman. Feelings have a form. So you can't even be a witness. So, dhire dhire karke, it first tells you something, then it negates it and goes to the next step. Then it goes to the next step so that it can, this methodology helps you follow through till the end. Agar shuru mein hi, that's why I asked you what is your background in Vedanta, because today's topic, I'm taking you right to the end.
Mhm.
So if I tell someone who has no clue about Vedanta and Brahman and everything and say experience is not possible with Brahman, उसको समझ ही नहीं आएगी मैं क्या कह रहा हूँ. It will be completely, over the top. So there is a methodology which Vedanta follows. And if you follow any one methodology all the way to the end, like Drik Drishya Viveka is what I think you're referring to. If you follow that to the end, you'll see how it culminates
Yeah.
into. So I think this is something you guys should independently think about. Okay, is it possible to have experience if you are non-dual? If you are without any change, right? If you're everything, what will you experience? Already you're everything. There is no time, there is no space. Experience always happens in time and space. Experience happens when, right? So something is changing in time. In other words, experience always happens in duality. And the reality of the duality is non-duality. So, so how does this work? Now, so I'm just going to leave it at this and assume that you guys will do your own thinking. And if you have any questions on whether experience is possible or not in a non-dual thing, we'll talk about it next time or whenever. We can talk about it later today also. But I want to go forward. Is that okay? So now the question is, how does experience happen? Or why does experience happen? So if you were to ask me what is Maya, what is the purpose of Maya? The purpose of Maya is to bring about experience. The purpose of Maya is to take the non-dual reality and introduce duality. That is Maya. So what does Maya do? Maya is an incidental property of Brahman. It has two Shaktis. Maya की दो शक्तियां कहते हैं. एक विक्षेपा शक्ति, एक अवर्णा शक्ति. So Maya as if splits this non-dual reality into two. As if. One is called the world, Prapancha. That is the Vikshepa Shakti of Maya, the ability to project. It creates an intricate world. In Gita, chapter 13, this world is called the Kshetra, the field. Vedanta calls it Prapancha. Mandukya Upanishad calls it Virat or Vishwa. Right? This whole world of experience. The other thing that Maya splits is the being, the Nara. जैसे विश्वा हुआ, तो विश्वा तो हो गया world, then it creates a वैश्व नरहा. मतलब विश्वा में नरा, विश्वा में जो नरा होता है वैश्व नरहा, मतलब एक being in the विश्वा. So it splits the single consciousness into two. And the being that it creates by the Avarna Shakti of Maya. Avarna Shakti means the ability to hide. It creates as if a limited consciousness from which this knowledge is hidden. Because this knowledge is hidden, that limited consciousness does not think of itself as a non-dual, full everything. It thinks of itself as a limited being with little knowledge. Why? Because the little knowledge now can experience the prapancha. It's a game. अगर आपको लेट्स से आपने आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंस से कोई गेम खेलनी है, क्या कहते हैं वो जो आ रहा है ना, प्रोविजन ऑफ एप्पल, तो आप क्या करोगे? आप पहले एक सॉफ्टवेयर में बड़ी सारी बना दोगे, You have written the whole software. The whole everything is written, it's written by you. Then you will create an agent, which is yourself in the game. And to that agent, you will give only limited knowledge, right? And that agent will now say, okay, मैं वो agent बन जाता हूँ, मैं अपनी game में चला जाता हूँ. You get into your game and start playing the game. And you enjoy it. Because you don't know what's next coming. यहाँ से आ रहा, you're enjoying it. Why are you enjoying it? Because you have limited knowledge. And this whole vast knowledge of the game, the software that you have created, you are getting bit by bit. Every time you make a hit, you experience joy. Every time you get hit, you experience a discomfort or pain, right? To get the experience of the game, you've created a limited version of that game and introduced it into the game. So the game is the Kshetra, the agent who's playing the game is a Shretagnya, and the game goes on. The difference is the agent in the game knows कि अगर कोई मुझे मारेगा तो मैं actually मर नहीं रहा. So you can enjoy the game. But imagine if you were the agent in the game and you had made yourself forget that you are actually an agent in the game. You'd say you're actually this person in the game. There is no other, you have no other reality except this person in the game. You would be mortified. You would say, oh my God, I don't know what's around the next corner in this AI. Let me make some friends. Let me make a collaboration. Think whatever you will do. That is the state. And then somebody comes and tells you, अरे बाबा वो गेम के अंदर no, ये आप ही की गेम है, आपने ही बनाई थी. आपने अपने आप को भुलवा दिया है. आप अब ये गेम खेल रहे हो, आप एक्चुअली मरोगे नहीं. ये बॉडी विल बी गोइंग अवे, उसके बाद आपको नई बॉडी मिल जाएगी, और जब आपको पूरी मुक्ति मिल जाएगी देन यू कैन स्टेप अवे फ्रॉम द गेम. अगर कोई ऐसे बनाएगा then your experience of the game is going to be completely different. You will start enjoying every element of the game without being worried about your death all the time. That is called a Jivan Mukta in the game. So that is what Maya does. Maya breaks up the single Advait consciousness, which has no ability to experience itself, into two so that experience can be had. And the experience only happens in in duality. So it creates a Kshetra, it creates a Kshetragnya, the knower of the field and the knower of the field. And it creates the ability to experience because it introduces ignorance in the knower. So that the knower feels, oh, I'm ignorant. Then it gets a little experience. Oh, I got a new experience. I gained a new knowledge. I gained something new, good, bad, whatever. If that was not the case, there will be no experience. वो कहते हैं ना प्रजापति का एक, आई थिंक चांदोग्य में है कि प्रजापति बोर हो रहा था. तो उसने कहा लेट मी एंटर दिस वर्ल्ड. ऐसे वो करके, मतलब दे आर मेकिंग ऑल दीज एलेगोरीज टू डिस्क्राइब कि भगवान बोर हो रहे थे. उन्होंने कहा चलो लेट अस क्रिएट अ वर्ल्ड, लेट्स हैव सम फन, दैट काइंड ऑफ थिंग. एंड इन ऑर्डर टू प्रॉपरली हैव फन यू नीड टू हैव दुखा ऑल्सो. बिकॉज अगर आपको याद है मैट्रिक्स में भी ये बड़ा इंटरेस्टिंग था. In Matrix, the agents were explaining the movie The Matrix. They were explaining how they created a matrix first. In that first matrix, there was no dukh. There was only good experiences. And they said, we realized that the human beings got completely bored after some time because there were only good experiences. So then they said we had to introduce unpleasant experiences in the matrix to keep you guys engaged. Otherwise, you would have gotten bored and you would have woken up from your sleep. And we wouldn't have been able to harness your biological energy to feed our machines.
So what's the end game for Brahman to be able to create these worlds and make us navigate through all the the goodness and the badness?
Okay. Now here's the problem in your question. Okay. You're talking as if there's a Brahman who's creating this world and you are here. My question to you is, what's your end game? You are Brahman. Why did you create this world? You are no separate from Brahman.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So ask that question to yourself. Why did me, create this world? What was my end game? You keep asking the question about what's the end game to Brahman, you will never get an answer because you're fundamentally wrong. You're thinking that you're separate from Brahman and you're waiting for Brahman or some guru or some jnani to come and give you some answers. That's not going to happen. But here's what I wanted to go forward and complete this thought that I was giving you so that you can understand where I was getting with this. I want to relate it back to the question that was there last time. So now, let's say that, and then we'll come back to Rajiv, we can go to any questions you want, but I just want to complete this. So just stay with me. So let's say now, in this duality, which is there with Maya, some experience happens. There's an agent of experience. Let's say me. I'm the agent of experience. And I'm experiencing something. I'm ignorant. That experience can give me knowledge, can give me pleasure, can give me pain. It will do all kinds of things. I will perceive things, I will see things. It doesn't change my status. I will still continue to feel that I am the agent, that is the world, and the experience. In fact, actually, the experience reinforces it. Because every time the experience happens, I realize, oh, yeah, it has happened to me. I am the agent, the world is there, and the experience is happening to me. That's my experience, and that will continue to reinforce. Nothing is changed. So if you're looking at it like that, the answer question we had last time, who is experiencing Vedanta? Me. Nothing has changed. Vedanta knowledge has come. I'm still the mind that first sought knowledge. Now it is seeking knowledge. Nothing has changed. That's because we have not understood Vedanta. Vedanta is a very separate kind of experience. It's called an akhand akar vritti. It is a pramana in its own right. This pramana, if you actually believe it and if you understand it, it is telling you something. It is telling you that you, the mind, who you think are the experiencer, are not the experiencer. There is no experience of this sort where you are a separate being and everything else is different. It's telling you this. If you truly understand it, this experience has the ability to transform your status from an agent to Brahman. It will not leave you the same. This thought, once introduced, will not leave you the same after this thought is introduced and understood. Any other thought, any other knowledge will leave you the same. You may feel like I have a little bit more knowledge, I'm a little bit more knowledgeable. It'll leave you, but your essential status will be left as a jiva, a separate jiva, separate from the prapancha. Vedanta is the thought which will change that status for you. Once that thought is understood, you can no more call yourself a jiva with a true heart. You may say, I need to be a jiva in this world because, okay, I have to work in this world. But you will understand that your actual status is not that of a jiva, but that of a Brahman. That is the power of Vedanta. That's why Vedanta is called a pramana. Nothing else, no other means of knowledge will give you this, but Vedanta will. And when this happens, that means the pramana has worked for you. And if it doesn't happen and you continue to feel, oh, it's my mind, no, so what? My mind has learned another thing. Like Atul kehta hai na, buffet line. I'm in a buffet line, there was one and I got another one. Then you're just treating Vedanta as another piece of knowledge. Because you've not internalized the fact that you are not separate from Brahman. For that to happen, you need to be a prepared person. You need to have a lot of, not anybody can get it. You need first to have strength of mind. Second, you need to be taught. You need to understand these words properly. You need to gradually take you there. And that's what's called wielding the pramana. Carol loves to call it wielding the pramana. That means a good teacher knows how to teach, how to take you from where you are to where the end state is as given by Vedanta. So the parampara of Vedanta is not just the teaching, Tattvamasi. Usse kehne se kuch nahi hoga. The parampara is how to take you from where you are today so that you can understand that teaching. Right? So that's what I wanted to say. That the difference with this Vedanta thing is that it changes your status. You can no longer think of yourself as a mind which is receiving this knowledge. Unlike every other piece of knowledge that we have ever used or come to understand. So I know this is really dense, and I've said a lot of things, but I wanted to say it because I know it's on record. I know that you guys can go back and listen to it again and try to understand. And I'm here. If you have questions, you can ask me and we can clarify it. But this is a very important concept to understand. So that's why I kind of said, okay, let me go quickly through it, because next time we'll meet will be in 2 weeks. Okay. So I've said what I had to say. We cannot discuss what you want to discuss.
So, at what level is the experience happening? Abhi tak to we were taught by doing neti, 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 neti that it's the Atman or the Brahman or our consciousness. The experience happens at that level.
Yes.
But for experience to happen, now today you are saying a change is needed. And our consciousness or Atman is Advait.
Right.
So, where exactly is the experience happening?
I think that's a really, really great question. So think about it like this. When we say that, before someone really knows Vedant, okay, what does one think of oneself as? As a Jivatma, as a Jiva. So depending upon how you've been taught and which culture you're from, you'll say, I'm either the body or the mind. And Atma doesn't exist if you're a Charvaka. If you're not a Charvaka and you're a yogi or something like that, you will say, yeah, Atma also exists. या तुमको बताया गया है कि तुम्हारी आत्मा है, it's called Jivatma. So the Jivatma is that which has created this mind and the body, and this package is called the Jiva. The package of Jivatma, right, which is also called the reflected Atma or whatever. The Karana Sharira, the Sukshma Sharira, and then, basically these three are called Jivatma. And this Jivatma keeps changing its body as it goes along, right? Because that's the one that travels. These three are the ones that travel from birth to birth and death to death. This body, which is the Sthula Sharira, is given to you. It's like a dress. You wear it today, then you change it tomorrow, go to another one. So the experience is happening to the Jivatma, which is this package of the Sukshma Sharira. You have to have a Sukshma Sharira for experience. Sukshma Sharira is the mind. If you don't have a mind, right, you can't experience. Mind is the essential instrument for experience. But mind is the instrument. So what you're taught is, जो तुम्हारी आत्मा है, वो actually experiencer है. वो witness है. Mind is the instrument through which it is being experienced, but the experience is happening at the Atma level. That's what we've been taught all along. Even Vedanta teaches that. मैंने आपको बताया था ना, the methodology of Vedanta is, right, it is upavada, like adhyaropa upavada. That means it starts by telling you this. पहले इतना तो समझ जाओ कि तुम बॉडी नहीं हो, तुम आत्मा हो. ठीक है, और कैसे समझोगे? बिकॉज आत्मा इज एक्सपीरियंस कर रही है, तुम बॉडी एक्सपीरियंस, माइंड इज एन इंस्ट्रूमेंट. तो आपने ये समझ लिया. अब आप सोच रहे हो कि आई एम द एजेंट ऑफ एक्सपीरियंस. कर्ता धर्ता भोक्ता शोक्ता सब कुछ वो क्या है? दिस इज दिस जीवा विच इज नॉट द बॉडी बट द सूक्ष्म, बट द आत्मा, जीवात्मा. लेकिन अभी भी आप जीवात्मा हो, लेकिन आप परमात्मा नहीं हो. परमात्मा इज द अदर पार्ट ऑफ, मैंने कहा था ना आपको कि माया स्प्लिट्स एवरीथिंग इनटू टू. तो एक तरफ माया ने बनाया एज इफ अ जीवात्मा, विच इज दिस बॉडी एंड माइंड, और दूसरी तरफ माया ने बनाया परमात्मा. परमात्मा इज द कॉज ऑफ द यूनिवर्स. is the just like your जीवात्मा creates your body and mind and everything, परमात्मा creates this universe. हम तो कहते हैं भगवान is the creator of everything, right? And Vedanta also teaches you that the creator of everything is Ishwar. Krishna Bhagwan comes and tells Arjun, ये सारी जो दुनिया जो बनाई है, ये मैंने बनाई है. इसमें आप मुझे देखो, कण कण में मैं बसा हूं. वो क्या है? परमात्मा. लेकिन भगवान ने इमीडिएटली तो नहीं बताया ना अर्जुन को कि तू भी वही है. वो कहते हैं मैंने बनाया है. उसने ये तो नहीं कहा तूने बनाई है. सो ही इंट्रोड्यूस द कॉन्सेप्ट ऑफ परमात्मा. सो देयर इज परमात्मा, देयर इज जीवात्मा. इतना पहले समझ जाओ, उसके बाद देन वेदांत विल टेल यू द फाइनल ट्रूथ, विच इज तत्त्वमसि, अहम ब्रह्मास्मि, जितने भी जो महावाक्य हैं, दे ऑल से दैट द परमात्मा एंड द जीवात्मा इज वन. ये माया का खेल है विच हैज मेड द डिविजन बिटवीन अ परमात्मा एंड जीवात्मा. एक्चुअली देयर ओनली वन. सो जब आप सोच रहे हो संजय, टू आंसर योर क्वेश्चन, हु इज द एक्सपीरियंसर? As long as you think that you are the agent of experiencer, it is your Jivatma which is experiencing. The Jivatma. Because it is not, Jivatma is no longer complete. There is a whole parampara which, so Jivatma can change. Jivatma can experience. But the moment you say, I am everything, Brahman, which is Paramatma and Jivatma is the same thing, you can no longer say that I am the experiencer. That is the beauty. And how does Gita express this? Gita tells you, Gyan Karan Sannyasa mein, it says that person who doesn't see himself as the doer nor as the experiencer, that person is a Gyani. What does it mean? It means that person who relates to Brahman, which cannot be the doer or the thing, that person is a Gyani. That person who thinks he's the experiencer, that means that person who thinks he's the Jivatma, who is experiencing and doing, that person is not a Gyani. Because for that person, the Jivatma is separate from Paramatma. The two are separate. And the Jivatma is operating, interacting with the Paramatma. So we, matlab, learned man, good, but abhi Gyani nahi bana. That's what Gita, this is the way Gita says it. Now this has to be explained, because if you read the Gita, you'll never get this. So the Parampara has to explain this. But that's what it means. It's full, if you now read the Gita with this context, you'll see it's full of such references, which can only be understood properly if you understand this whole idea of Jivatma, Paramatma, Maya, how the Maya seemingly breaks up Brahman into Paramatma and Jivatma. Does that answer your question, Sanjay?
It will have to be thought over,
Yes.
and we will try to understand.
Yes.
Shravan has been done, Manan will be done until we reach Nidhi Dhyasnam.
वो तो बड़ी लंबी बात. जैसे निधि ध्यासना is the longest, because
is the longest.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
you can understand it, you can conceptually understand it, you can know it as the truth, but to live it,
Live it.
very, वो जैसे सब उसमें अभ्यास की जरूरत है. जो सुनील कहता है ना, अभ्यास. You need to actually catch yourself and your habits and say, okay, why am I behaving like this? As if I am a separate human being looking for joys in this world, when I know better. And slowly you have to kind of then tell yourself, there is no need for this. Bring your knowledge. Carol says, bring your knowledge to bear at every instant that you can. Because the knowledge is there, we just forget it. That is nididhyasana. That has to be done on a continuous, it's a lifelong process. And that's why just by knowing this, you don't become a Jivan Mukta. It's very important. Knowledge is the basis of it. You have to know it. But the knowing is not an intellectual knowing. This knowing is knowing from every being of your body. This knowing has to be reflected in your behavior. That is true knowledge. That is Jivan Mukta. According to Ved. Of course, you are free to think you are Brahman and your job is done. Nothing wrong in it. Because you are Brahman. So that's fine. That what your goal is up to you. And you will be right. You won't be wrong.
एक क्वेश्चन और था, what is the link between Nidhi Dhyasana and meditation? How are they related?
So it's just
Or
a
is it
technical
the same thing?
No, it's not the same thing. I mean, if you look at the technology of the technical part, meditation typically means you're meditating on another object. Dhyana. So meditation means कि let's say एक typical meditation will be आपने शालिग्राम का पत्थर लिया, या आपने कोई वुडन मूर्ति ली और आपने वो मूर्ति को देखा सामने, उसको कहा ये भगवान है, इस मूर्ति को प्रतीक मान के मैं मेडिटेट करूंगा, ध्यान करूंगा कि वो भगवान है और मैं भगवान के ऊपर ध्यान करूंगा. इट्स अ मेंटल कर्मा. What is a karma? Karma means when there's an agent of action and there's a object of action.
Object of
Karma. So mental karma means there's a agent of mental action, that is me, and an object of mental action, which is the pathar, separate from me. I am meditating on an object. There is duality. That is meditation. It's just another form of karma. अगर आप फिजिकल कर्मा करोगे तो आपको कर्मयोगी कहेंगे, आप ध्यान करके कर्मा करोगे तो आपको ध्यान योगी कहेंगे. निधि ध्यासना is different. Nidhi Dhyasana means you are not meditating on another object, you are meditating on yourself as Brahman. There is no
So
duality.
we are meditating on the teachings, what we have learned. We are
Yes.
thinking, introspection, and then we are getting so convinced that it becomes part of us.
I mean, the main point is that you are not thinking, you're not meditating on something which is separate from you. You're meditating on yourself, on your actual, because the teaching is all about yourself. Teaching is saying कि आप ब्रह्मन हो. So you're meditating saying, मैं ब्रह्मन हूँ. I am Brahman. What does it mean that I am Brahman? What should I be behaving as if I am Brahman? How should I be reacting if I am Brahman?
इसी thought पे तो meditate कर रहे हैं ना.
हाँ, so that is not called meditation. That is technically called निधि ध्यासना. अगर आप में thought of the other नहीं है तो वो निधि ध्यासना है. Thought of the other है तो वो meditation है. I'm just telling you the technical difference between the two.
Technical difference.
Because in Vedanta this is a very important concept. Because Vedanta कहता है कि वो इंसान जो भगवान पे, ईश्वर पे ध्यान करता है वो ब्रह्मलोक जाता है. In the next janam goes to Brahmaloka. So they have a whole upasana set of upasanas in Vedanta, which says if you do these upasanas you'll go to Brahmaloka. लेकिन जो निधि ध्यासना करता है वो जीवन मुक्त हो जाता है इसी जगह पे right now. He doesn't have to go and travel to Brahma. That's why I was trying to say that just so you, in case you're reading about it or anything, you should understand the difference between the two terms.
So, Dheeraj, I have one additional question related to meditation that Sanjay just brought up. And there is this concept of meditation is to be able to still the mind and get into, a state which, if I understand correctly, based on what you're saying, I can correlate it to being in a state of non-duality.
Yes.
Because there is no change going on in the mind, right? I mean, no vrittis, no
Yes.
no stimulus for a change, right? So am I reading this correctly?
No, you're right. So I think I know what you're talking about. So in Samadhi also, there is something called Nirvikalpa Samadhi, which means you get to a state of non-duality. It's almost like deep sleep. But remember, that is an avastha. It's always called Nirvikalpa Avastha. Avastha means a state, a temporary state. You can go in, get out. So in a dual world, you can do Samadhi and get into a state of Nirvikalpa Samadhi. It can be a very joyous, wonderful experience, but that finishes. Then you come out of it. Just like you can go into sleep and come back out of sleep. You go into waking, you come back out of waking. You go into dream, come back out of dream, right? It's another state. It is not what Vedanta is telling that you are. It's your mind experiencing a state. So there is a little bit of duality there. It cannot be completely non-dual because otherwise there is no experience. But you experience non-dual nirvikalpa. That means there is a very sukshma ahamkar is there. Right? That's another state. But you don't have to do that. You don't have to go into those states because you can get there through knowledge. Knowledge and nidhi dhyasana, of course. Because knowledge without it making any change in your behavior is not going to be very satisfying to you after a while. It may be very.
And so there is this the other kind of samadhi, right? Sarvakalpa samadhi, right?
Sarvakalpa samadhi is what I described earlier.
Yeah, right now. Yeah. Okay.
Which is you have you have a stone or something and you think it's God, or meditate on a flame. There's a vikalpa. That means there's a form on which you are meditating. Nirvikalpa means there's no form. So I mean, this was a pretty. I think for the end of the year we should have kept it light. But I think this was pretty not light. So let's. I think for we have we are done with the year. Let's say put a rest to the teaching now for the time being. We can follow it up in the new year. Is there anything else you guys want to like talk about? Or Sunil, you haven't spoken at all.
No, one thing I just want to.
Okay.
So the agenda for next year is going to be we have to reach the stage of Jivan Mukta. That's right.
Collectively, all together.
Collectively, matlab, clear all doubts, clear all paths, get all knowledge, so that our ultimate aim should be reached to Jivan Mukta, na?
Yeah. This is a good aim to have. It's a good, like every New Year resolution, add it to your list of New Year resolutions. Make sure you meet it. Not like I
Yeah.
will quit smoking next year. That kind of resolution. But this is a good New
एक
Year.
ही resolution है भाई हमारा, यही है.
Resolution है, ठीक है, first class.
ठीक. Good.
Sunil, the mic is yours.
Dheeraj, every time I listen to you, I'm absolutely amazed at the depth or the levels of understanding and knowledge of Vedanta that you bring forth on the table. And I mean it. I genuinely mean it.
I know.
But again, I always keep telling myself that unless you genuinely experience that, there's a word called हिंदी में एक शब्द है जिसको बोलते हैं अनुभूति. आपकी प्यास तब बुझती है जब आप पानी पीते हो. आपकी भूख तब मिटती है जब आप खाना खाते हो. तो जब आप पानी पी लेते हो तो वो एक अनुभूति होती है कि हाँ मेरी प्यास बुझ गई. या जब आप खाना खा लेते हो तो आपकी एक अनुभूति होती है कि हाँ मेरी भूख मिट गई. I think we all have to strive and move to a level where after understanding Vedanta, I think we have to move to a level where that anubhuti comes in of actually being a Jivatma or a Brahman or that non-duality. And I think you very beautifully explained it. I think I just loved this session. Honestly, I think this is one of the, I have kind of lost track in between, but I follow the recordings like Rajesh Kapoor. So we both look forward to Sundays rather than Saturdays. So
पता है धीरज ने क्या किया है? धीरज जो आप कह रहे हो ना, प्यास लगी तो पानी चाहिए अनुभूति होने के लिए. हम रेगिस्तान में चल रहे थे, 2-3 मील चलने के बाद बहुत प्यास लगी. अब जहां भी गए वहां ओएसिस नजर आया, तो वहां धीरज आया, उसने हमें एक एक चम्मच पानी डाल दिया हमारे मुंह में, जस्ट टू टेस्ट के पानी का टेस्ट क्या होता है. अब तुम ढूंढो जाके पानी. तो अब वही बात है कि हमें अब ऐसी प्यास लगी है कि साली बुझती नहीं.
Sunil, next year you please, because like I said, for this year अभी हो गया ज्ञान, but next year you must join us and share some of your experiences, because आपको अनुभूति कुछ हुई है मुझे लगता है. तो वो जो अनुभूति हुई है you should share with us and help us understand also. Because what we ultimately want is not necessarily only Vedant. What we want is, like you said, we want fulfillment. So that will be very nice. आपका मतलब I'm hoping कि आपका business बढ़ता रहे और आप busy रहे, लेकिन बीच में से आपको थोड़ा टाइम भी मिल जाए ताकि आप आ जाओ सैटरडे को. one of these
दो शब्द ज्ञान के आप बांटे.
मैं एक्चुअली ज्ञान लेने आता हूँ, to be very honest.
No, but it's a give and take.
It's amazing. It is absolutely amazing. What you explained today, this concept. And but this is like you said, it was pretty intense.
Yeah, very intense. Yeah. No, it's a give and take. It's not just maybe if for some right now in some areas I know a little bit more, so I'm speaking more. But we got a lot of gyan from Mukta today about Vipassana.